Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Clemson Sports Show. I'm Matt Connolly, joined by Eric Mac Lain, special guest today. Super excited to have him back on. I know you guys really enjoyed it when he was on the first time, so pumped to have him back. Eric, I guess let's just start off with just some thoughts on Clemson. You know, just looking back the first half of the season, some of your takeaways there, and just I guess heading into the bye week, what did you feel like really needed to get cleaned up?
Yeah, man, what a start! What a start that nobody predicted or thought would really be where the Clemson Tigers are at this point. But that's the name of the game. That's why this sport of college football is truly the best, because we don't know what's going to happen each and every week, and from not just this level and at Clemson, but really just across the country. It has been such a bizarre year. But when you look specifically at the Tigers, man, I don't think any question that the offense has to keep rolling, has to keep trying to figure it out, get better each and every week. And man, these last 2 weeks against, Georgia Tech and against Boston College before their bye, or excuse me, NC State and then Boston College before their bye, we saw flashes, and we've seen, okay, a little bit of uptick here, a little bit uptick there. DJ making some crazy throws against NC State, and the run game really coming alive at Boston College when they played them at home there. So there's flashes, and there's just things that make you think, okay, this offense has to be going in the right direction. But really going into the bye week, Matt, the most important thing was health. There's probably a 3-page long injury sheet of all the guys that are just out, that are dealing with bumps and bruises. Some are season ending. There's a lot of various injuries on here. That's, number one, going to be interesting to see who actually is going to play in this Syracuse game coming up on Friday, who's going to be available. And then just from even from that Boston College game, the different offensive line that we saw, I thought that those guys played really well, or some, semblance of that five. I thought, Matt Bockhorst looked really comfortable back at guard. And so if Hunter can step up and be the guy at center, is that something where they're going to try to get him back at a guard position? So it's an interesting game. You're trying to find the best 11, especially up front, the best 5 who are going to be, those road graders, those great protectors. And this has just been a really big learning curve for Clemson. I think the other thing, Matt, going into this bye week that Clemson really wanted to do was, just some self-scout and some self-evaluation of, okay, let's get 5 or 6 plays that we feel really good about, that we know all 11 guys can execute at a high level, understand what we're trying to do, and let's try to go get really good at those. And so that's what I think is going to be, interesting moving forward. It's funny. Everyone else is calling for complexities in the offense. Let's do more. Let's be creative. But the team can't handle it right now, to be quite honest with you. Guys are messing up with just very basic play calling. So I think it would be foolish to try to do, more, to put more on their plate when we can't even execute a simple inside zone run play at times. And so, right. I think that's going to be the biggest thing moving forward. Can all 11 guys get on the same page and really get going?
So before we dive into a few plays from that Boston College game and some good things that we saw, I just wanted to ask, you mentioned the offensive line, obviously as a former offensive lineman. What were some of your takeaways from the way Hunter Rayburn played at center? It seemed from my amateur eyes that he did a pretty good job there. Then also just Matt Bockhorst seemed much more comfortable, I thought, at guard than he has at center this year.
Yeah, well, you give yourself a little credit, man. I don't think we're talking about amateur eyes when we're talking about yours. But yeah, I think to start with Matt, he's so much better at that position. And I get it. This is a brand new spot for him to be at center. And it's very hard to do. I mean, I couldn't imagine my senior year being asked, okay, throw the ball between your legs, make every call on the offensive line, and try to block a head up nose guard who's probably going to go top 5 in the country when you look at Georgia. So, what those guys have been able to do, really impressed, at this point. I think, again, Bach looked really good at guard from a comfort level, from a communication level. His eyes are up and he's able to see things the entire time. He's not looking between his legs back to try and get a snap count or, anything of that nature. So really happy with his effort there. And again, hoping that a guy like Rayburn can continue to grow. I think that he showed that he's clearly smart enough to play. I didn't see any kind of mental lapses or MAs from him in that game. So that's encouraging. Was it a confidence thing? What was it just an overall performance? Did Matt outperform him and got deemed the best guy to win at center? Now, I think with this game tape, hopefully that's maybe it's a competition again, and maybe, somebody else taking a step back at one of the guard positions and Matt plays there. So I was very proud of both of those guys and happy with their performance against Boston College.
Yeah. And from my vantage point, I think when Will Putnam gets back, it probably makes the most sense to just put Putnam and Bockhorst at guard and use Marcus Tate some, if he comes in. I think we both agree he's going to be a really good player down the road. Just not sure that he's as good as Putnam or Bockhorst at this point at guard, is my opinion. Although he did play well against Boston College. So we'll kind of see how that plays out.
That's right. No, I agree with you. And again, at the end of the day, you want the best five, and whoever that is, you've got to put them out there. And even, back in my senior year, we rotated guys. If you earned it in practice that week, you were going to play. Now, it might not be a ton, and it might not be, whole game, half game, but you were going to get in there. And maybe that's, what Clemson moves back to doing, and, really rotating guys. They did that for 3 or 4 years, and maybe these last 2, they really kind of stopped rotating at a normal pace and a normal base of what we saw that started in 15. Maybe we start seeing more of that, here in 2021.
Good deal. All right, let's dive into a few of these plays from the Boston College game that stuck out to both of us as just plays. Some good, some bad. Obviously, the offense put together 200 plus passing, 200 plus rushing for the first time this year, at least against an FBS opponent. Was good to see. They talk a lot about being balanced, and so we definitely saw some good, but also a lot to clean up. Only scoring 19 points against the Boston College defense that, I think Jeff Hafley does a great job with those guys, does a really good job scheme-wise, but still not necessarily shut-down type defense. So let's dive in. We'll start in the first quarter, pretty early on, around the 11:30 mark or so. Just take us through this play with DJ passing, nice protection, nice pass to EJ Williams. Just what did you see here?
Yeah, and really to what got us in this situation, right, was an unfortunate, false start penalty by a running back. And so you never want to be behind the sticks like this. Unfortunately, you get there quick, but really it starts up front. A great protection from this offensive line. Boston College is going to bring 6. They have so many guys in the box there. Now, Clemson does have a condensed, formation at the bottom of your screen. So that's why you see the more hats. And really, they did a great job of almost disguising it, where it looks like maybe one of the linebackers is going to take Davis Allen, but he ends up coming. So great protection up front by those guys. And then just a really confident throw by DJ. It's 1, 2, 3, bang, the ball comes out. That's something that we saw from him a year ago and we're so excited about. And now this really one of the first times that we've been able to see that, from him. It's across the hash, an opposite throw. This is an NFL level throw, which again, I think is why people are so excited about what they've seen from him. And really the ball's thrown before EJ comes out of his route. Now, the only negative I would say about this play is you would love to see EJ get to the marker. You'd love to see him get to the sticks, or at least have a little bit more awareness as he's going out of bounds. He's right at it. Just stick that ball out, get the first down. But man, to come down with the catch at this point, that's really all we can really ask for. So now we're going to stay right about here because it's the very next play, Matt. It's 4th and 1. And this is what I was telling you, man, you'd love to have just converted right then and there. Clemson's going to go with a little bit of a heavy package, rotate their tight end over. Honestly, from a personnel standpoint, before we even get to the play, I would have loved to seen the tight ends switched right here. I would have loved to have seen Braden Galloway on the end of the line and had Davis Allen, who's a much better blocker, kind of be in that 3-back, kind of fullback position, just because knowing your guys, knowing who you have, Braden is more of the receiver. I don't think there's any question about that. You don't want him man on man on the most important side of the ball, blocking probably Boston College's best defensive end. And if you look at the other side of the screen or the bottom of the screen, Davis is walking his guy downfield. So you would have loved to have seen that on the other side of the play. Galloway he gets blown up. He gets tossed in the backfield. The guy pretty much makes the tackle with Braden's backside and turnover on downs. So it's unfortunate to see that. But that's a grit thing. That's a camp thing. You got to dig down deep and say, hey, man, we're picking up this first down. And we just didn't quite see it there.
Yeah, that's a great point. And if you watch Braden on this play, it's not a lack of effort. I mean, it looks like he's going out, he's trying to get in there and make the block. But like you said, he's more of a pass catching tight end. And that's, it's not like we're the only ones who realize that. The staff definitely knows that as well. So
that's right.
Yeah, I agree with you. Switch up the sides there. I think that's a really good point. And you mentioned earlier jumping off sides too with a running back. I mean, if that doesn't happen, you're already looking at a first down at that point.
Right.
So,
right. It's just, and that's the biggest thing,
yourself
man.
In the foot.
Right. And it's every play. And it's something where when it's bad, when a bad thing happens, if you go back and watch the tape, it's only a couple guys. It's only one or two guys that are making a mistake. And that's what's, just so infuriating, especially if you're a coach. I know those guys are getting really after him, but it's a different guy. It's not like, okay, we've got the same kid making the same mistake. It's somebody else on a different play. And I know that's frustrating. All right, let's keep going with these plays. Fast forward just a little bit to I think Clemson's third drive, maybe in the first quarter, or second drive at least. We're going to go to the 8:20 mark. And really this is just an easy pass that DJ should make. And I don't know where his eyes are. From the game copy, it looks like he's staring down Davis Allen, who is wide open. I mean, just get him the ball and let him work. Let him do. And that's an easy flick. Of course, he's running across his body, but he has his hips flipped. He's in position to make this play. And when you see where he's thrown, it's double covered. So, we would have loved to have seen, what does it look like if you get your big tight end the ball? Looks like he has plenty of room in front of him, but just make the easy play. And this is what I critique Sam Howell with so much, is that he's always looking for the home run at UNC. He's always looking for the big play instead of just what's right in front of you and picking that up. And unfortunately, we see an incompletion here. At least, it's thrown away. It wasn't a silly forced pass. And you live to fight another day. And thank goodness you did, because we're just going to go right to the next play at 8:10. Really what's impressive about this, Matt, is everything that happens pre-snap. The offensive line, Walker Parks does a great job communicating. You see Hunter Rayburn, he's passing out. Once he hears that lock call from Walker Parks up there saying, hey, this is my guy. I'm taking this guy on the end of line of scrimmage. That makes everything shift over. So now we're seeing the guys retarget. They do a great job of communicating. And, man, Kobe Pace does the rest. So special, sees the hole, plants his foot in the ground, and is able to pick up huge yards. And this is what we have not seen from Clemson yet this year. I believe this is their first explosive run, and it gets into the end zone. So those are the type of things that you want to see growth, and you see communication. Okay, maybe these guys are starting to figure it out. Now the next step is really going to be that consistency thing where, okay, we can do this each and every drive. It's not miraculous, and we're not super excited when it happens. It's just, what's next.
Yeah, and I was going to mention on this run, I thought Kobe Pace has maybe missed some holes the first few games of the year. And not that any of the backs have had a ton of opportunities, and he's obviously been behind Shipley. But I thought, again, he does a great job here of just, finding the hole, getting to the right spot, hitting it hard, not tiptoeing through and then just exploding. And I didn't realize he was that fast, honestly. I mean, he was gone. He hits the hole and is gone. No one even gets close to catching.
He showed us some juice right there. And I love what you bring up, guys not hitting the correct hole or not seeing the hole that maybe they could. And really, we could even argue that on that 4th and 1 that we showed a couple of plays ago, that if Moffel would have just cut on the backside instead of trying to ram it straight up, where he's supposed to go, be an athlete and make a cut, he picks it up. But instead, he goes directly where he wants. Speaking of guys not hitting the correct hole, we're going to fast forward to the second quarter, 11 minutes, it's 3rd and goal. Clemson not able to get this ball into the end zone, and it's just a little bit quarterback power. Again, now at this point, Davis Allen has been removed from the game for targeting on a punt coverage. So now you've lost your best blocker. You've got a young freshman in there at tight end, and I think Braden's out of the game as well. So you've got two really younger, inexperienced tight ends that are in the red zone on the goal line trying to make things happen. They are certainly not the reason that this doesn't score. A little bit of leakage from the offensive line. You've got a linebacker really just screaming down, or a defensive end rather, really being aggressive instead of kind of try to hold and squeeze. That defensive end is really coming down in a hurry. You'd love to see Big Marcus be a little bit lower and just really pow drive that guy out. Now we have 2 guys on 1. We've got a tight end that gets caught up in the traffic. And really it's just a big jam here. But if you can see from the TV copy, there's a hole on the left side of Bockhorst that if DJ could have just put his foot in the ground right then and there, instead of trying to go right, there's a hole where he could go left that, Matt, I think honestly, you and I could have walked through that thing, man. It's if you can see the back end, anybody that's watching here, it's pretty wide open, and it's unfortunate that they get shut out there, only get 3 points in a game like this where, points are at a premium. You get down on that goal line, man, you have got to score touchdowns, not just points. And that's going to be something that honestly, I think is a big focal point for Clemson going into the Carrier Dome against Syracuse, because that defense, that they're going to try their best to keep you out.
Yeah. And that's something that we talked to DJ about this week is, I asked him about this play in particular, or this series of plays in particular. And he said, man, I went back and watched it, and he's like, I could have walked it in the end zone. But right. He said he just got a little too close to the running back on this instead of, I think maybe just went a little too quickly, a little too fast, just right towards him. But yeah, there's a huge, I don't know that I could have necessarily scored on there, but most people are getting in the end zone right there.
Come on, man. Sure. I'm confident in you, man. Come on.
and look, I mean, the coaching staff talked again about how excited they were about putting up 400 plus yards and 200 passing, 200 rushing, but still only 19 points. And that's just too few points when you're when you have opportunities like this, and when you're moving the ball the way they did. You've got to finish off drives. So yeah, huge missed opportunity there, and it nearly cost them. I mean, this is a game that right down to the wire is really anyone's game.
Yeah, no question about it. All right, last play here. We're going to show the defense some love. We always talk about the offense. I want to fast forward to the third quarter here, really at the 4-minute mark. And this has been a guy in Andrew Booth that has really just shined so bright, and he's made himself a ton of money. I think he's the most physical corner in the country. I think he's the best tackling corner in the country. And we've seen time and time again, what he can do in coverage with one-handed miraculous snags, making big time plays, flying through the air, making interceptions. This guy is just the total package. But when you watch this play, he is almost 10 yards deep, really 16 yards from the running back, and just triggers very quickly and makes a heck of an open field tackle. This is something that the NFL, you got to have it. You got to have that run support on the outside. And honestly, Matt, I think that this play in particular really shows what Clemson is going to have to do Friday night, because, Syracuse is going to get out in space. They want their big running back, Sean Tucker, to whether it's a quick screen, if it's something where he just bounces it, he wants to be one-on-one with DBs. You don't want to be one-on-one with this DB, because Andrew Booth will make you pay, and he's going to have to make these type of plays, because I guarantee you Syracuse is going to try to test it.
Yeah, and teams have been testing them all year. I mean, I go back to the NC State game, and they just kept throwing screens out there and just trying to, pick up yards that way, and he just kept blowing them up over and over again. So, yeah, I'm with you. I think he's played just about as well as any corner in the country this year. I know that was a big emphasis for the staff. You go back and watch the Ohio State game last year, and there were opportunities where, Clemson could get off the field on third down, and it was just, I hate to use the word, but it was pretty soft tackling. And I think that the defensive staff would agree that it was pretty soft effort too many times last year. So that definitely hasn't been a problem this year, and in particular with Andrew Booth. He's been great.
No question about it. And I think when you take, just really that mindset of, okay, I need to be a dog. I need to get up there and make plays and really, challenged by that coaching staff. He's just excelled so much. And then you have another guy in Andrew Makuba, in that backfield that he's just playing lights out and really aggressive. He's not the biggest guy in the world, but he doesn't miss tackles, and he makes plays in the passing defense and as well as in run support. So, those two guys playing as well and as physical as they are, it should be a great, kind of X factor in this game, versus Syracuse.
Yes, sir. All right. So speaking of Syracuse, let's go ahead to that. Just for someone who hasn't seen Syracuse play much this year, I guess what would be kind of your overview of them? I've been, and I'm sure Clemson fans too, have been pretty busy watching Clemson and haven't had a ton of time to check out Syracuse this year. So I'm going to before the game this Friday for sure, but just want to get some thoughts from you on Syracuse.
Yeah, well, first of all, this isn't the Syracuse of past. Don't go into this Friday thinking, that it's a cakewalk. Don't go into Friday thinking that this is a game that, Clemson should win by 60 points. Now, can they? Sure. Do they have the skill players and the ability to do so? I think that answer is yes, but this is a good Syracuse football team, and they are a couple of plays away, from being 5-1, and they're 3-3. They have a couple of really close, hard fought losses in the conference, but they've really hit a groove these last 2 weeks. Garrett Schrader, their quarterback, I don't know if I'm going on the ledge yet and calling him the next Eric Dungy, but he's playing really well. He uses his feet super, super effectively. He's a guy that, wants to run, is competitive, wants all of the smoke, as people say, because he just knows how special he is. And then, of course, we mentioned time and time again, Sean Tucker. If you turn into ACC Network at all these last couple of weeks, we've been just giving this guy all the credit in the world. He's second in FBS and all-purpose yardage. He is a guy that Syracuse is going to find a way to get him the rock. He's their leading rusher. He's their leading receiver. He's their leading specialist in regards to kick return yards there. So he's truly Mr. Do-It-All. So if you want to slow down this Syracuse team offensively, you've got to key into those two guys. I think it was interesting on the the message boards, the Tiger Den. Someone brought up, okay, do you want to take that Notre Dame approach where you're trying to really contain Ian Book? And in that case, yes, you want to contain Schrader. You don't want, to be in man-to-man and nobody at home and he just takes off. You're going to have, somebody at home who's assigned to him. And then same thing with Tucker. He is a compact back. He is a very powerful back. Coach Mark Richt compared him to Noshawn Moreno from Georgia. I know we all remember how great of a running back he was. So those two are the key. Clemson is definitely the best front seven and overall the best defense that Syracuse has seen. So, maybe all of these numbers are just fluff, but we will find out, very quickly with the attack that I think Syracuse is going to present offensively.
Yeah, I know Dabo said during his press conference Tuesday, he thinks sometimes Syracuse just tells everyone to run deep and then just lets the quarterback take
That's
off.
Right. That's right.
It's like the game plan.
It's not a bad one.
Little backyard football. We used to try that all the time.
That's right. It works.
So just want to ask you one more thing about this game. Just, you think about a Brent Venables defense, the front seven that you mentioned, really good. I can't see Venables letting a team just beat him with one guy. I just think that he's going to do whatever he can to take that away. Do they have other guys? Do they have other playmakers that, if Clemson tries to take that away, or is that something we're probably going to find out Friday night?
Yeah, I mean, not really. It's those two. I mean, there's certainly been some guys that have stepped up and been, decent role players. But as I said, Sean Tucker leads them in every statistical category outside of throwing the ball. And if they let him throw it, he'd probably do that as well. But, really the emergence of Garrett Schrader running the ball has been a nice, kind of a 1-2 punch between Tucker and Schrader running it where, you just have to pay attention to both of them. So I'm with you. I think BV dials up a heck of a play call for this. We have heard that maybe Clemson getting some defensive guys back. So that'll be nice to, just have some depth and to have some other bodies that can go in there. But you've got to pay attention to the Syracuse defense as well. That this is one of the best, in the country. These guys are only allowing 308 yards a game. They do a really good job pass defense. They have a couple of secondary players that, really just love to get their hands on the football. Linebacker Mikel Jones is a war daddy. He's a guy where you need to know where he is at all times, whether it's in coverage or if he's blitzing, because, Syracuse, when they run this 3-3-5, they're able to disguise a lot of stuff. They show multiple a lot, but at its core, it's a 3-3-5, and they've been doing an excellent job of getting pressure. They're tied for first in all of Power 5, getting after the quarterback and getting sacks. So these guys aren't playing around. And, this is going to be something where, pre-snap, you need to stick with your calls. As an offensive lineman, if we say we have these four down and the guy to the right, that's who we're taking. And the quarterback and the running back have to adjust accordingly. Even if those guys don't come, you still have your assignment. You still have who you're throwing hot off of. That doesn't change anything. So this is going to be a really big, mental game for Clemson as well. And really chess game to know, okay, Syracuse is going to show one thing. They might bring another, but we have to be prepared and we have to be ready.
Yeah. And the last thing I was going to say is just, like I said, I haven't watched a ton of Syracuse yet, but from what I've seen and from what I've read, it doesn't sound like a defense that, if you're having issues with communication and having issues up front and figuring out who to block and all that kind of stuff, probably not the defense you want to see. So definitely,
That's right.
definitely a big challenge for Clemson's offensive line. And we'll find out in a hurry just how much better this group is after the bye week. So thanks for joining us again. I appreciate Eric coming on. I encourage you guys to check us out at clemsonsports.com. Sign up. We still got a great special going on. $1 for 4 months, $10 for a year. Come give it a shot. And Eric's going to keep doing these with us. We're super excited about that. He'll be hanging out, as he mentioned, on the Tigers Den, answering some questions and stuff. So you guys stay tuned for another episode and continue to follow us on social media. Come to our website and like and subscribe on YouTube as well. Thanks, guys.